Samoa Joe, where that's just basically going to turn into an all-out fight. It's going to turn out into an all-out brawl. And I'll get more into that in a minute when I talk about Extreme Rules. But those were the 3 matches in which all 3 of them wanted to see. Bischoff and Cornette shook hands, talking more shit about Vince Russo. And then they signed off with the table for 3. So, the funny thing is, right before... Oh yeah, Great Ball of Fire. Sorry. Thank you. Thank you for correcting me, James. At Great Ball... See, but, like, why? Great Balls of Fire, why? We'll get into that later, too. About pay-per-view names and all that shit. So stupid. Great Balls of Fire. I sound... oh, my God. No. 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 Anyway, so... Yeah, Jim Cornette's getting his wish at Great Balls of Fire. God, that's so stupid to say. So stupid. So, but then I also listened to a little bit of Jim Cornette's comments on the Table for 3 after it had aired. I guess on his he has a podcast too. Everybody does, like I said. And whoever his co-host / producer is was basically saying that it was a 20-minute show. And Bischoff was saying, wait a minute. They took an hour and 15 minutes and converted it to a 20-minute show? I would like to watch the raw edit of that. Like, just the hour-plus conversation in which they had. I can't even imagine what else was discussed. I didn't go into it any further to hear what else was discussed, but, you know, these wrestling old-timers and these wrestling guys of the past, they like to talk. They like to reminisce on days of old, and they like to, you know, just bullshit about things and what could have been, or why wrestling sucks now, and everything else. So... But the comment he was just saying, you know, we were talking for about an hour and 15 minutes. I would like to actually see the full hour plus of that discussion. If not for nothing else, then just for me being the fan that I am, and I just want to listen to everything that they said. Because one of the greatest thrills of being a wrestler in the locker room and sharing locker rooms with guys, I won't mention names because I don't want to name drop, but some of the stories you hear. Like, I'll name drop one. Only because this actually serves a purpose. $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase was in a show that I was working in... It was in South Jersey somewhere. I think it wasn't Tom's River. I don't know. It was somewhere. And... the show was a bust. They didn't promote it right, and there was a very few fans. And the guy, okay, the show was ran by a guy who was rich, but his son was the one putting on the show, so he was the money mark for his son, who was playing the role of promoter. So $1 Million Man made his money, no problem. Which, whatever. But he just sat there bored as fuck. He had accompanied a tag team to the ring for a tag team title match. And then at the end of the match, he attacked $1 Million Man attacked the winning team with chops, and he was in his glory. Oh, great, I'm having fun. After that, he had spent like a good hour and a half or so, probably more, because I had to leave early. But I sat there for a good half hour, 45 minutes, just listening to him talk. And I mean, the highlights of it were like how Shelton Benjamin should have been more over than what he was. He should have been pushed harder because he had that great match on Raw with Michaels. And, you know, and I agree with him. Shelton Benjamin was a very underappreciated, underrated talent. And then he just the stories that he was spitting, and I was listening to conversations with a couple other legends, and they're talking amongst themselves though. Ted DiBiase was talking amongst a room full of 20 guys and girls who just want to listen to him chat. And he's talking to us about wrestling. It was so cool. I mean, it's one of those things that I'll never forget the experience. But then you had other guys, again, I won't mention names, but they're talking about like, oh, how's this guy doing? How's that guy doing? Oh, I heard this one guy found God, and I'm so glad he did because he was going down a path of self-destruction. Pretty intense shit. Very intense shit. And again, it's part of just listening to the conversation, because then they're talking about the guy's high praises of when he was able to work back in the day. So it's one of the things I miss about wrestling. It's just going to locker rooms and listening to these guys just talk. So definitely missed that. So with that said, I'm going to actually go and take a little bit of no, he did. Did he have $1 million belt? No, he did not. He did not. I'm going to take a quick little music break here really quick. I'll come back. We'll talk a little Extreme Rules. And after that, we'll talk about these horrible, horrible pay-per-view names, especially Great Balls of Fire. But I asked you all on Facebook, what was the most, other than Great Balls of Fire, what's the most ridiculous pay-per-view name that you just couldn't stand, can't stand? And nobody answered this one because I don't know. I would have said, what other stupid phrase, that you could see being a name of a WWE pay-per-view title. Not that the independents never haven't used any stupid titles before, but what could you see a WWE pay-per-view using as a title? Because obviously they need to film more pay-per-view names because of the split brands, and it's nonsense. And I'll make this one comment before I go into Extreme Rules and before I go into this break, everything. People have even saying, oh, the only reason why Great Balls of Fire would be great if they used the song. Well, they do use the song, and their Great Balls of Fire logo looks like a giant dick going around across Great Balls of Fire, and the song plays, and you're trying to get the retro feel to it, and it's no. And even then, it's just like, why? Ha! That would actually be a good name for My Heart Will Go On. That would actually be a WWE-esque name for a women's only pay-per-view, which I'm surprised they're doing a women's tournament, the Mae Young Classic coming up, but God, I can see them doing that. All right, let me get into this music break really quick, and then I'll come back and talk about Extreme Rules. Hang on. All right, welcome back to Open Mic Wrestling Night here on Fill in the Void Podcast Network. I just want to give a quick shout out to my partner and host of the Indie Artist Realm, DJ Classic, for giving me a huge shout out on his show tonight. I hope you all got a chance to listen to it. If not, you can go listen to DJ Classic Presents the Indie Artist Realm on and any of our shows on Fill in the Void Podcast Network through Stitcher, iTunes, Google Play, Player FM, and TuneIn Radio. You can listen to any and all of them on those apps, as well as the Speaker Podcast Radio app and Spreaker.com/filling_the_void. So, thank you all for the shout out, and shout out again, thank you to Capital Wrestling for giving us a shout out to tell everybody to check us out. Thank you very much. Went to the show on Saturday. Good show. Good talent. Great place. Great place to watch a wrestling show. Over at Cathedral Hall. So, and then they have another show coming up on July 29th, so definitely go take a look at them over there as well. Let's see. Extreme Rules. Okay. I'm just going to go through the match card really quick results, and then I'll kind of go from there. Kalisto defeats Apollo Crews in the kickoff. The Miz defeats Dean Ambrose to become the new Intercontinental Champion. Okay. This is where they kind of get off on the wrong foot. If this was any other pay-per-view that was not titled Extreme Rules, where you're expecting tables, ladders, chairs, fire, barbed wire, thumbtacks, even in the PG era, if this was any other pay-per-view that wasn't titled Extreme Rules, this match would have been fine. Now, even with the title being Extreme Rules, and it's so stupid, Dean Ambrose would be disqualified if he would lose the title if he were disqualified. But this is Extreme Rules. This is Extreme Rules, where it's supposed to be extreme. Every match was supposed to have some sort of extreme stipulation, which was what it was. What it first was when the pay-per-view came into inception, years ago. I can't remember exactly when. I'm terrible with that. But the match itself was a solid opener. And the story that was told in the match was great. Miz is now doing whatever he can do to get Dean Ambrose disqualified. The referee teases it, and then all of a sudden, skull crushing finale, 1, 2, 3, match over. Now Miz is a 7-time Intercontinental Champion. The story of it was fantastic. Good opening match to get people into it. The crowd was hot. And yet, everybody shits on it because it's like, they're so concentrated. I get it where the storyline, I get it where it's Extreme Rules and, you're forgetting, how things are supposed to happen and this, that.